The restaurant glittered like a jewel box suspended above the city, crystal chandeliers scattering warm light across polished marble floors. Outside, rain had just begun to fall, streaking down the tall windows in silver threads, blurring the headlights of passing luxury cars. Inside, everything shimmered, cutlery aligned with military precision, wine glasses thin as whispers, white roses arranged in low vases at every table. Lena moved through it all like a shadow in black heels. She had mastered the art of graceful invisibility. Her posture was straight, her expression composed, her steps soundless despite the hum of quiet wealth around her. She could anticipate a guest's need before they lifted a finger. Refill water before a glance at an empty glass. Replace a fork before anyone noticed it had slipped to the floor. But some tables were impossible to ignore. Table 14 sat in the restaurant's most coveted corner, framed by floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the skyline. The reservation had come in that morning under a name that made the manager personally inspect the linens twice. Victor Laurent. Even Lena, who avoided celebrity gossip and business news, knew who he was. A tech visionary turned billionaire investor, the kind of man who funded space startups and medical breakthroughs. His photographs were everywhere, serious eyes, composed smile, headlines praising innovation. When he arrived that evening, he looked different from the glossy magazine covers. Real, taller than she expected, dressed in a charcoal suit tailored to precision, but with a faint crease between his brows that spoke of exhaustion. Beside him glided Vanessa Hale, draped in a red silk gown that caught the light with every movement. Diamonds flashed at her ears, and confidence radiated from her like perfume. They didn't just enter the room, they shifted its gravity. Lena had been assigned to their table. "Good evening," she said, voice smooth and warm as she guided them to their seats. Victor offered a polite nod. "Thank you." Vanessa barely glanced at her, too busy adjusting the fall of her hair over one shoulder as though cameras might materialize at any second. The first hour passed in careful elegance. Lena poured a 2009 Bordeaux, described the evening's specials, and retreated into the rhythm of service. The piano in the corner played something soft and familiar. Conversations at surrounding tables floated like distant murmurs. Then Victor's phone vibrated. He glanced at the screen and sighed almost imperceptibly. "I need to take this," he said to Vanessa, already rising. "It's Zurich." Her smile was instant and luminous. "Of course, darling. Business first." He stepped outside onto the balcony corridor, glass doors sliding shut behind him. The moment he disappeared from view, something in Vanessa's posture changed. The brightness drained from her expression as if someone had dimmed a switch. Her shoulders relaxed, not with comfort, but with calculation. She picked up her phone again, fingers moving quickly across the screen. Lena approached with a discreet refill of sparkling water, intending to place the bottle silently and retreat. That's when she heard it. Vanessa didn't realize how clearly her voice carried in the lull between piano notes. "He's leaving at 7, she said into the phone, tone sharp and low. "Yes, tomorrow. Zurich." A pause, then a soft, humorless laugh. "Of course he believes it's for the foundation. He practically insisted I take control of it." Lena's hand tightened around the glass bottle. Vanessa twirled a strand of hair absently. "Relax. By the time he figures anything out, the transfer will be complete." Another pause. "You'll come by around 9:30. Use the side entrance. The concierge won't question you." The words dropped into Lena's chest like stones. She placed the water down carefully, praying the sound hadn't betrayed her presence. Vanessa glanced up briefly, eyes cool, then turned slightly away, lowering her voice. "Tomorrow morning," she whispered. "We'll finally celebrate properly." Lena stepped back, heart hammering. It wasn't her business. She repeated it silently as she retreated to the service station. Not her business. Wealthy people had complicated lives. Affairs, secrets, power plays, it was the air they breathed. She was just the waitress refilling glasses, invisible and replaceable. But then she remembered something else. Earlier that evening, while presenting the wine, she had overheard Victor speaking softly across the table. "I spoke to the board," he had said, his voice gentler than she expected from someone so powerful. 10 million to start. In your name. I trust you to build it the right way." 10 million. Trust you. She had seen the way he looked at Vanessa when he said it, not like a billionaire investing in an asset, but like a man believing in a partner. The balcony doors slid open. Victor returned, slipping his phone back into his pocket. "Everything all right?" Vanessa asked sweetly, reaching for his hand. "Fine," he replied, "just logistics." Lena watched the transformation happen in real time. Vanessa's face softened, eyes warm and devoted, voice dripping with admiration. "You work too hard," she murmured. If Lena hadn't heard the phone call, she would have believed it. Dinner continued. Truffle risotto, filet mignon, a bottle of rare burgundy decanted with reverence. Vanessa laughed at all the right moments. Victor seemed to relax, tension easing from his shoulders as wine and candlelight softened the evening. Then Vanessa excused herself to the restroom. She left her phone on the table. It buzzed almost instantly. Victor glanced at it, perhaps only intending to silence the vibration. The screen lit up. "Can't wait for tomorrow. Miss you already." The name displayed was not his. Lena stood a few feet away, breath caught somewhere between her lungs and her throat. She could walk away. She should walk away. Instead, her feet moved before her fear could stop them. "Sir," she said quietly. Victor looked up, expression neutral but attentive. She swallowed. "I apologize if this is inappropriate." His gaze sharpened slightly. "When Ms. Hale stepped away earlier, I happened to overhear part of a phone call." Silence pressed in around them. Even the piano seemed distant. "I wouldn't normally interfere," she continued, voice trembling despite her effort to steady it. "But she mentioned someone coming to your penthouse tomorrow morning. After you leave for Zurich." His face didn't change, but something in his eyes did. "And just now," Lena added softly, "the message on her phone didn't seem like it was from you." A long pause. He studied her face carefully, searching for ambition, malice, manipulation. She offered none, only anxiety and reluctant honesty. "Are you certain?" he asked quietly. "Yes." Footsteps approached, the sharp click of high heels against marble. Victor leaned back slightly in his chair, composure settling over him like armor. "Thank you," he murmured. Vanessa returned, smile radiant. "Did I miss anything?" "Nothing at all," Victor replied smoothly. Lena stepped away, pulse roaring in her ears. The rest of the evening unfolded as though nothing had happened. Dessert was served, dark chocolate souffle with gold leaf. Coffee followed. Vanessa's laughter rang out like crystal. Victor's expression remained calm, unreadable. When the bill arrived, he signed without hesitation. As they rose to leave, Vanessa drifted ahead toward the exit. Victor paused beside Lena. For a brief moment, their eyes met. There was no anger there, no accusation, only calculation, and something like gratitude buried deep beneath it. He gave a small, almost imperceptible nod. Then he followed Vanessa into the rain-soaked night. Lena stood motionless for several seconds after the doors closed behind them. The restaurant resumed its gentle rhythm around her, unaware that something significant had just shifted. She had broken the rule of invisibility. She had stepped out of the shadows. And as she returned to clearing table 14, hands steady but heart still racing, she couldn't shake the feeling that tomorrow would not unfold the way anyone expected. The knock at the door was firm, deliberate, 3 measured taps that didn't belong in Lena's world. She was still in her pajamas, standing barefoot on the cool linoleum floor of her tiny kitchen, stirring instant coffee into a chipped mug. Morning light filtered weakly through faded curtains, illuminating peeling paint and the narrow hallway that led to her bedroom. The laundromat below had already started its daily symphony, machines thudding, water rushing through old pipes. No one ever knocked on her door. Certainly not at 8 in the morning. Her first thought was the landlord. Her second was that she had somehow lost her job overnight and someone from the restaurant had come to deliver the news in person. The knock came again, calm, patient. She wiped her hands on a towel and approached cautiously, heart thudding harder with every step. When she opened the door, a man in a perfectly tailored black suit stood in the dim hallway. He looked as though he had stepped out of a luxury car and accidentally taken a wrong turn into her building. "Ms. Lena Morales?" he asked. His voice was neutral, professional. "Yes," she answered carefully. He extended a matte black envelope toward her. It was thick, heavy-looking, unmarked. "Delivery requested in person." "From who?" she asked. "I'm not authorized to disclose that." Of course he wasn't. She took the envelope, fingers brushing against expensive paper stock she had only ever felt when handing customers their bills. Before she could ask anything else, he nodded once and walked down the narrow staircase without another word. Lena closed the door slowly. Her apartment suddenly felt smaller. She stared at the envelope for a full minute before opening it. There was no address, no stamp, no indication of origin. Inside was a single black card. It was heavier than it looked, cool against her fingertips. On one side, embossed in silver, were 2 initials. VL. Her breath caught. On the other side, in precise lettering. 11 a.m. Laurent Tower. Penthouse level. Bring this card. Her heart began to race. This wasn't subtle. It wasn't ambiguous. It was him. She glanced at the clock on the stove. 8:19 a.m. Her mind spiraled. Had he confronted Vanessa? Had she denied everything and accused Lena of lying? Was this meeting a thank you, or a lawsuit? Wealthy people didn't handle conflict quietly. They handled it with lawyers. She set the card down on the small kitchen table and paced. She could ignore it, pretend she never received it. But the fact that someone had tracked down her address meant he already knew who she was beyond the waitress. He had made a decision. After a long moment, she exhaled slowly. If she was going to face consequences, she would face them directly. She showered quickly, steam fogging the cracked bathroom mirror. She chose her simplest black dress, the one she wore for job interviews, and brushed her hair back into a neat low bun. No jewelry except small stud earrings. She wanted to look professional, not intimidated. By 9:10, she was on the bus downtown, the black card clutched inside her purse like a secret. Laurent Tower dominated the skyline. It wasn't just tall, it was commanding. A seamless column of glass and steel that reflected the city back at itself. As the bus pulled to a stop, Lena felt absurdly small stepping onto the sidewalk. Luxury cars lined the entrance. Security guards stood at attention near the revolving doors. She hesitated only briefly before walking forward. Inside, the lobby soared upward in gleaming marble and cascading light fixtures. Everything echoed, footsteps, hushed conversations, the quiet hum of wealth. She approached the front desk. Have a meeting, she said softly. The receptionist offered a polite smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Name. Lena slid the black card across the counter. The change was immediate. The receptionist's posture straightened. Of course, Ms. Morales. Ms. Morales. Not, Miss, in a dismissive tone. Not, waitress. Not, you. A security guard stepped forward and gestured toward a private elevator tucked discreetly behind a mirrored wall. The card was required to activate it. Her hands trembled slightly as she inserted it into the slot. The doors closed with a whisper. The ascent was silent and smooth. Numbers climbed rapidly. Her reflection in the mirrored walls looked pale but determined. When the elevator opened, she stepped into a space that didn't feel like a home so much as a statement. The penthouse stretched wide and open, floor-to-ceiling windows offering an uninterrupted view of the city. Sunlight flooded across pale marble floors. Modern art adorned the walls, bold, abstract, expensive. Everything was minimalist yet unmistakably powerful. Victor stood near the windows, sleeves of his crisp white shirt rolled up, jacket discarded on a nearby chair. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't angry either. He simply looked composed. "Thank you for coming," he said. His voice was calm, measured. "I wasn't sure if I should," she admitted. "You should have." He gestured toward a seating area, a low leather couch facing the skyline. She sat carefully, posture straight. He remained standing for a moment before speaking again. "I didn't go to Zurich," he said evenly. Her breath caught. "I postponed the flight. I told Vanessa there was a delay." He walked toward a sleek glass table and picked up a small tablet device. At 9:27 a.m., he continued, a man arrived. He used a secondary access code to enter the building. Her pulse pounded in her ears. "I had security monitor the situation." He placed the tablet on the table in front of her and tapped the screen. A paused video appeared. A man Lena didn't recognize stepping confidently into the penthouse lobby. Smiling at the concierge. Familiar. Victor turned the tablet away before she could see more. That was enough. Silence settled between them. "I confronted her," he said finally. She didn't deny it. There was no visible anger in his expression, only something colder. Calculation. She admitted she intended to leave once the transfer cleared. Lena lowered her gaze. "I'm sorry." "For what?" "For being right." A faint, humorless smile touched his mouth. "You saved me from transferring $10 million into an account that would have vanished by the weekend." Her throat tightened. "I didn't tell you for money," she said quickly. "I know." He walked to the table again and picked up another black card, identical to the one in her purse. "This isn't a credit card," he said, placing it in front of her. "It's access." She looked at him, confused. "I've spent years building companies," he continued. "Technology, infrastructure, investments, but I've neglected something else." He held her gaze. "The people." She blinked. "I own stakes in over 40 hospitality establishments worldwide," he said. "Restaurants, hotels, resorts. I've relied on executives and spreadsheets to tell me how they operate." His jaw tightened slightly. "Last night reminded me how little I truly see." He leaned forward slightly. I need someone to oversee employee welfare across those businesses. Working conditions, ethical standards, fair treatment. Her eyes widened. You barely know me. I know you risked your livelihood to tell a stranger the truth. The words hung between them. That's more valuable than any resume. Her heart pounded violently. I don't have corporate experience. You have perspective, he replied. You know what it feels like to stand on the other side of the table. He paused. I can hire people with degrees. What I can't hire easily is integrity. The city stretched endlessly behind him, sunlight glinting off glass towers. You would be trained, he added. Supported. It would be a paid executive position. Full authority within the division. Executive. The word didn't belong in her vocabulary. You trust me with that? She whispered. You trusted me with the truth. Emotion rose unexpectedly in her chest, sharp and overwhelming. Yesterday she had worried about losing her job. Today she was being offered something unimaginable. She picked up the black card slowly. It felt heavier than before. Real. I'd need to give notice, she said, voice unsteady but firm. Of course. He extended his hand. She stood and shook it. His grip was steady, respectful, equal. As she turned toward the elevator, card secure in her hand, she felt something shift inside her. She hadn't exposed Vanessa for reward. She had done it because silence felt wrong. And now, standing in a billionaire's penthouse with the city at her feet, she understood something powerful. Sometimes the smallest voice in the room changes everything. The elevator doors closed behind her, carrying her downward. But for the first time in her life, she felt like she was rising.